What's up everyone? My name is Paul Klingen, and in this video, you're gonna learn the 5 myths that hold people back from achieving high levels of success in their health and fitness. This training was inspired by The One Thing, the book by Jay Papasan and Gary Keller. So we're gonna dive into those 5 myths. And if you are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Paul Klingen. As I mentioned, this is the E4 Fit Method channel where we teach people around training, nutrition, recovery, and mindfulness, ways that you can level up and think about those differently so that you can continue to see high levels of success in your health, fitness, so that really amplifies whatever it is that you're doing in your life. So check this out. All right, so the first thing that we wanna break down is the 5 most common myths at a belief, in an identity, in a mindset level that are preventing you from really achieving what you want to with your weight loss goals, with your performance goals, and ultimately feeling better in your body and more confident in what you do every single day. So the first one is multitasking. And this list is iterative off of The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. If you have not read that book, read that. It is totally life-changing. And side tangent. Anyway, so multitasking, the first one is the belief that you can do multiple things at the same time. So a good example of this would be, I wanna get really strong, I wanna build a ton of muscle, but I also want to lose a bunch of weight, and I'm also trying to run this half marathon with my friends, right? And this is something that we'll dive into when we go into the triangle of goals. But when we work with clients within our E4 Fit method, we want to understand, okay, what is the primary KPI and the primary goal, and what are secondary goals that may get better incrementally, but this is the one that we're optimizing for. And so when you have this belief that you can do multiple things, or that you can fragment your focus, your time, your attention, and your energy, and give 5 things 100% of effort, the math just doesn't check out. And so if everything's a priority, ultimately nothing is a priority. And so this ends up being the first thing that we want to identify with clients is, what is the main thing right now that you want to focus on, that you want to go and see incremental progress in? Because we're gonna be okay putting these secondary goals, secondary KPIs on the back burner. It's not to say that you won't improve your sleep, or that you won't lose weight if you go and improve on a performance-based goal, or if you lose a bunch of weight, you won't also improve your stress levels or other metrics. But the main thing should always be the main thing until you reach that. We'll dive more into that one in the triangle of training goals training after this one. So the next one is that discipline is this thing that you have to always have, and that the people that have the fitness lifestyle that you're looking for have a crazy amount, or just born with extreme levels of discipline that you could never have. And to illustrate this, I wanna break down the 4 levels of competency to give you a visual for this. So with the 4 levels of competency, you have unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and unconscious competence. Whew. Competence, it's a mouthful. But the way to think about this is this is essentially, you don't realize what you're doing is wrong or not in the best interest of the goal that you have. Then this is, you are aware that it's the wrong thing, and maybe you're working on it, maybe you're choosing not to do it anyway. Then there's conscious competence. That's where you have to mindfully go and make this change that is better for you. And then from there, it becomes unconscious. This requires no discipline. It's on autopilot. It's just a system that your brain runs automatically. This doesn't require any discipline either. So you can almost say these don't require discipline. The discipline is going from here to here. And then as this happens, that's where things start to become subconscious. So to make this a little bit tangible, an example, maybe you have really bad squat form, or maybe you have really bad running form, and you don't even realize it. You've just been going along, doing your squats, going on your runs, and then someone says, hey, this is a change you can make. Now you're aware of it. Now this is a change that you can either go and act on and make that something that you are consciously focusing on, or you can go and continue along your merry way and be like, yeah, I know my running form is trash, but I'm just gonna keep running. Or I know my squat form is trash, I'm just gonna keep running. I know this Pepsi Cola is trash, but I'm just gonna keep drinking it. And so this is where discipline happens. And it takes, and this is actually in the One Thing book as well, 66 days to really make a habit into this section. You'll see as low as 21 days, but ultimately that discipline becomes less and less and less as you move down through this. So we'll just continue on. Now you're consciously competent. You've got good squat form, you've got good running mechanics, but you do it and you have to really think about it, really make sure you warm up properly, really make sure that it's something that is at the forefront of your mind. But eventually, you can just roll out of bed and do it in your sleep, which is two different things, but you can just do it unconsciously. You don't have to think about it. And that's where you ultimately want to get with whatever habit it is that you're creating. So whether it's eating a higher protein diet, drinking more water, cutting out liquid calories and stopping soda, whatever that is for you, it might be something that you don't even realize is unconsciously incompetent. And it might take a coach, it might take someone highlighting or illuminating that for you to be now in your center of awareness, in your conscience. Then you have the choice to say, okay, I'm gonna do something about this or I'm not. I see it all the time. People know that staying up till 1 a.m. scrolling on TikTok isn't the best for them, but they consciously do that anyway. Then the hard work is really only in this stage because you have to exercise that discipline. But once you get there, that discipline really isn't there. And now that becomes a skill and almost like a discipline muscle that you developed and you have it. And all you gotta do is just maintain that versus spend a ton of extra energy, this godly amount of discipline that you think you always have to have. You have it on will call. All right, so the next belief or the next myth is going to be relying on willpower. And willpower and discipline are similar, but willpower is actually something that is high at certain times. And I like to think of it as you have 100 points of willpower throughout the day. And every single decision is something that takes away from those points. Every single thing that is stressful, every single thing that is out of alignment of what you want to do, every single thing that takes energy to resist or do against what you want to do drains that willpower. So as you get towards the end of the day, and if you've exerted all of those willpower points, well then willpower is low, and relying on that doesn't make a lot of sense. A really good frame of reference, especially for nutrition, is willpower will always lose to biology. You can resist and resist and resist, but ultimately your brain is going to hijack through the cravings, the hunger, the intense need for food. You can only resist so long before the body is just gonna go and get what the body needs in order to stay alive and survive and get the nutrients and the sleep and whatever that it needs. So willpower is something that will always lose to biology. But the way that you can really hijack the willpower points and get more back for you is put as many things as possible either into systems or into automations. So what this looks like is having your food delivered to you from a meal service company. Now you don't have to think, now you don't have to spend time and energy cooking. It could be having a coach lay out your workout program for you. So you open your phone, you say, oh, I know exactly what I'm doing versus trying to think and sort through which exercise or how much. Those are all decisions that you're having to make. And so what it ultimately saves you is decision fatigue. This is why you'll see a lot of CEOs like Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, they will wear the same thing over and over because then it's just one less decision they have to make so that they can take their willpower and their 100 willpower points and focus those on the things that are the most important. So when you can get to a point of saying, okay, cool, I'm going to make the hardest decisions, maybe that is making a more nutritious meal higher in protein. Maybe that is doing a really hard workout. Do that when willpower is highest and it's gonna be much easier. Versus if you wait till the end of the day, you've used all your willpower points, super stressful day, it's 8 p.m., then you try and get a workout in, or then you're trying to resist the cravings that you have because you're maybe a calorie deficit, that's how you're gonna set yourself up for a much tougher time. All right, so next is balance. And balance is gonna be something that is an interesting topic because work-life balance has become more and more of a common term that you hear as people work more and more and more. But ultimately, there's only so many hours in the day, and kind of tied to multitasking, if everything deserves the same amount of time, the same amount of focus, the same amount of energy, it ultimately becomes this gamble on a bunch of bets that you can't cover. You don't have enough time. You don't have enough energy. If you work 8, 10, 12 hours a day, you're not gonna get 8, 10, 12 hours of playback. If you work out for 1.5, 2 hours a day, whatever that ends up being, you're not gonna get 1.5, 2 hours of quality time with your friends. And so ultimately what you wanna do is focus on the season that you're in and maintain the other areas while you really swing into a counterbalance of that number one thing. So I'm gonna do a visual to give you a little bit better representation of what I'm talking about. All right, so right here we got the 4 sections that you can really have in terms of what it is that you're focusing on in your life. Physical would be body, fitness, all that stuff. Mental would be mental, spiritual, emotional well-being, relationships, family, friends, significant other, career, finances. So there's gonna be times when you are putting your primary focus on developing this from level 6 to level 7. And that's taking a disproportionate amount of time, focus, and energy to do. But once you get this to a level 7, the maintenance and time required for that might only be 30, 45 minutes. Now, you're in, let's just say, level 6 in everything. And then you say, okay, I wanna go really focus on my career and get it from level 6 to level 7. Well, now these are areas that are lacking. And so you're gonna then go swing the pendulum to get this from a 6, maybe this gets to an 8. And so all the while, what it takes to maintain your physical fitness, maintain career development, maintain relationships is less than it takes to go and progress those. And so there's gonna come a time when your physical fitness, losing weight, training for a marathon is your primary goal. And so when you're thinking about balance, don't think about it in terms of quantity, think about it in terms of quality. Because 2 hours with friends and family that is present, super focused, super fun, is just as valuable as 10 hours of work if it is weighted that way. And the way to think about that is a ton of bricks and a ton of feathers weighs the same. They have the same weight, they have the same quality in them. But there's thousands of more feathers than there are of bricks. So if your fitness is something that you're focusing on, it might just be a time period in which you're taking it up, going from level 6 to 7, level 7 to 8, and you're okay maintaining these at the numbers they are at. And that might be a season of 1, 2, 3, 4 months, and then you swing it back over to focus on this, getting this from a 6 to a 7. And all the while, you're just maintaining your physical there. But when you look at balance, you're never going to be able to take all 4 of these to the next level. You're trying to maintain, maybe get incremental progression while you take the one area that you're focusing on, that's your primary focus, push that up. And then within physical, this is where we get into the next training is gonna be the triangle of training goals, but this is where you have a triangle and you really wanna identify which of those you're focusing on. Again, that's in the next video, so definitely check that out. All right, so last but not least, we got number 5, big is bad. And a lot of times it seems like it is safer or smarter to shrink your goals so that they are more likely to achieve. Or you say, oh, I'm just trying to lose 10 pounds. I'm just trying to get in a little bit of better shape. But what that ultimately ends up being is smaller thinking, asking smaller questions and getting smaller answers. But when you ask bigger questions or asking better questions, you're gonna get bigger and better answers. So check this visual out on terms of what that looks like. All right, so to illustrate why it's important to have bigger goals, bigger visions, and ultimately bigger beliefs and identities about yourself is because it hedges against not getting to your goal. So here we have the size of the goal and the time that it would take. Let's say the goal is 10 pounds. So in order to get there, boom, you gotta go in that trajectory. And you can get there faster, you can get there slower, you can have a bigger goal. But when you create a bigger box and you say, all right, I'm gonna give myself a bigger time horizon. I've got a bigger goal, right? And this might be 10 pounds. Well, now this is 30 pounds. This 10 pounds is just a checkpoint along the way to you being able to do that, right? So this is a longer commitment of time, right? If you're just gonna say, oh, I'm gonna try and lose 10 pounds in 5 weeks, well, what happens after the 5 weeks? If you're saying, oh, my goal is just to lose 10 pounds, that means best case scenario, you're setting yourself up to lose 10. Your mind mentally gonna sabotage yourself if you go beyond 10 because you're saying, I don't want more than 10. You're literally telling that to the universe. So when you say, I want a bigger goal, and this doesn't have to just be 30 pounds, it could be, I want to run 1 mile, or I want to run a marathon, right? That one mile becomes much easier, almost a foregone conclusion if you say, I'm a marathon runner. I may not be able to run a marathon yet, but it's just a matter of time until I do, because you have the identity right here of I'm a marathon runner. I'm 180 pounds, or I'm whatever pounds in terms of weight loss. I'm someone that eats better. I'm someone that eats healthy. I'm someone that doesn't drink Pepsi or drink Coca-Cola. So when you give yourself a bigger box, a bigger goal, and you start asking bigger questions, bigger challenges, you make this just another step, another checkpoint along the road. So those are the 5 biggest myths that I see in the fitness space. And when you can change your beliefs about those, everything opens up to you. Check out the next video on the triangle of training goals. We're gonna dive into how to identify what you're focusing on from a fitness standpoint.